Hey everybody, Howard Jacobson here on a lovely overcast. Is it overcast? It was. I'm not sure. Monday afternoon. I'm the Chief of Behavioral Science at WellStart Health, co-author of Sick to Fit, host of the Plant Yourself podcast, and today I want to talk to you about four very important letters, and they are ZTfD. And we're going to get into what they are and what they mean. And this is going to be a short one because, I got a lot of other stuff to do and it's getting late and we're going to experiment with kind of keeping this brief. So if you have questions or comments, feel free to pop them in. In fact, if you want to say hello right now in the comments, I have the window open and I'm happy to see who's here to say hello to. So here's the thing. Most of us would prefer to, when we make a change, to have some wiggle room, to have some leeway, to be free to kind of call audibles in the moment and not be sort of locked in. Because it's hard to commit to something that we want to lock into. I'm never going to do this again for the rest of my life. And then we're like, well, I don't even want to make that kind of commitment. How do I know now what I'm going to feel like doing in 3 months or 3 years or 30 years? And so one way we try to get around that is by going, well, I will sort of aim for this most of the time. And we might even give it a number. We might say, I'm going to be whole food plant-based 95% of the time, or I'm going to stick to my workout 5 days out of 7, or I'm only going to have, like dessert 10% of the time. And the problem with this is that we are very bad at figuring out ratios and percentages and probabilities, anything that isn't absolute. The human brain really isn't equipped to do this. If you have any doubt about this, look at what people are scared of in terms of threat. People are scared of, airplane crashes and terrorists, and they're not scared, and shark attacks. And they're not scared of heart disease. If we were rational, we would run away screaming whenever we saw McDonald's. Whenever those golden arches would make us recoil in terror because of the correlation between that kind of food and damage to our health and even sudden death. So, we aren't very good at that. We aren't very good at anything that's not a sort of an absolute. And so if we say, well, I'm only going to have dessert 10% of the time. Well, what happens when it's time to decide? We go, well, okay, now this is my 10%. That dessert looks really good. This is my 10% of the time. And then 2 days later, we go, well, this is my 10% of the time too. And we can end up with no traction whatsoever, because we aren't really doing 10% of the time, and we're not being reflective. We're not getting feedback on that. So it seems like, oh, well, don't understand why I can't lose weight. I've cut way back on dessert, and we're not actually cutting back or doing it in any sort of meaningful way. So the other problem is that if we say, well, I'm going to keep my rules most of the time, or even I'm going to keep my rules 90% of the time or 99% of the time, the framing of those words is that I'm going to not keep my rule 4% or 10% or 20% or whatever it is of the time. We are intending to break our own rule. And so the concept I want to highlight here comes from Stephen Covey. He wrote a book called First Things First. Glenn Livingston, my friend who wrote Never Binge Again, told me to read it, and I've been going through it. And Stephen Covey in this book talks about the PIA, the personal integrity account. And to not have personal integrity, which is to not believe the things you're going to say and the things you commit to, is a great tragedy. And it is a tremendous handicap in life. Because there's this doubt every single time you are going to try something. Yeah, am I really going to do this? Look at all the times I didn't do it in the past. It is, and the PIA, the personal integrity account, is the thing that every decision in our life gets multiplied by. And it's kind of a binary thing. Like you either have personal integrity or you don't. And I know we talk about like it's an account, you can add to it. But in any given moment, we know like, yeah, I'm not going to do that thing. I'm not really going to get up at 6 a.m. and go to the gym and exercise. Or we know we've made a commitment. Yeah, absolutely. There is no way I'm not doing that short of, act of God, car breaking down, like little things are not going to stop me. I am committed. We know that feeling within ourselves. So how do we build up a personal integrity account that can handle bigger and bigger challenges, bigger and bigger commitments, more and more ambitious goals? And the answer, here's the 4 letters, ZTfD. And it stands for Zero Tolerance for Deviation. And I learned this phrase from my friend Peter Bregman, author of Leading with Emotional Courage and many other great books. And he learned it from a CEO that he knows, a very successful CEO. I'm not sure I'm allowed to say who it is, so I won't. But the idea is that if you want to make a change in an organization, as the leader, once you set out the rules, the only way it's going to happen is if you have zero tolerance for deviation. That is, this is the rule, and you don't ignore any situations that countervene that rule. You don't give people passes. You don't give them buys. And I'm not saying you shame them or guilt them or attack them or fire them or demote them in any way. You don't let it pass. You don't let it slide by. Zero tolerance for deviation. Because when someone deviates from that rule and nothing happens, what are they going to do? They're going to do it again and again and again, because there's a reason that they are doing it the old way. It's more familiar. They might feel more competent at it. The new way might seem, like take too many cycles. You might not even think it's a good idea. And then what happens when other people see the person deviating and not getting called out? They go, oh, well, they're not really serious. How many times have you been in an organization where they made something up with big fanfare, announced it, rolled it out, and nobody followed up? There was no accountability. So it's the same thing with ourselves. We are both people. So the book Misbehaving by Richard Thaler talks about this a lot, this concept that we are the boss and we are the employee. And when the boss makes the rules and then the employee has to follow them. So if we as the boss don't set up zero tolerance for deviation, then we are eroding our personal integrity account every single time. So what does zero tolerance for deviation mean? Does it mean that once we decide we're going to start moving more, that we have to work out an hour a day every single day? Absolutely not. It doesn't say what we're deviating from. That's the beauty of this. Whatever rule you set up, whatever standard you put in place is your 100%. So it could be tiny. It could be once a week, I'm going to eat a carrot. Now, is that going to get you where you're going to go, where you want to go? If that's the only thing you do? No. But if you have tried many times in the past, I'm going to go 100% whole food, plant-based, no oil, no sugar, no salt, and you fail, and you fail, and you fail, and you fail, then maybe let's try a different approach where there is zero tolerance for deviation, but it's so easy to not deviate that you can witness yourself not deviating. You can witness yourself actually following this plan. And so now what have you done? You've had one carrot a week. Have you made a big difference in your health? No, probably not. But you have made a difference in your own relationship with your integrity. Your personal integrity account has been plenished. Is that a word? Before you replenish, you have to plenish? It's been filled. So that now you see, here's the formula. I make a decision, I call it a commitment, I do all the things I have to do, whether it's put it in my calendar, make a plan for how I'm going to get the carrot, make a plan for how I'm going to eat the carrot, prepare for after I've eaten the carrot, maybe I need to floss, and go do it. And make that non-negotiable. ZFTD, ZTfD. ZTfD, zero tolerance for deviation. So think about in your own life where you have been struggling, where you feel like you have no confidence in yourself, in your own integrity, in your own keeping your word to yourself, for yourself, by yourself. And in that moment, in that place, in that domain of your life, create something for which zero tolerance for deviation is almost 100% guaranteed. Now, I didn't say 100% guaranteed. If it's 100% guaranteed, then you're not building a muscle. But that molecule of doubt where you actually have to impose a little bit of willpower, that's where you start building that integrity muscle, and that's where we start getting traction. And once you have confidence in your PIA, in your personal integrity account, remember we multiply everything else by the PIA, then now you can take on bigger and bigger challenges. Have a salad once a week. Have a salad for lunch every day. Eliminate chicken breast and cold cut turkey meat. Every single thing you decide you're going to do then becomes something that you are going to rest on a platform of success and traction. That PIA, that personal integrity account. All right, so ZTfD, let's hear in the comments how you're going to go about doing that. Thank you all for watching. I'll talk to you again next time. Take care. Have a great day.